I'm so passionate about data and personalization, so that was such a beautiful presentation. And I'm actually your next speaker, so I'll give you guys a couple minutes to come in here. I'm going to move this over just slightly, which is much heavier than I anticipated, so just, bear with me. We're going to have some fun. Okay. We need in-between music for 60 seconds that keeps everyone ramped up, hey? Put that on your notes for next time. All right, our clicker works. Awesome. Yeah, everyone can find a seat. There's lots over here on this side too if you want to kind of funnel through. Amazing. Hi. All right, so we'll get started as people are kind of funneling in. But so nice to see all of you. I actually see a few friendly faces from when we presented in Toronto. So that's always nice to see when you come on stage. Today we're going to be talking a lot about data. We're going to be getting into the weeds of some tangible, actionable things, because I find that a lot of the times we get really inspired by what we see when we go to these presentations, but there's not always a lot of things that we can write down to actually implement today. So I'm hoping that that's what we can do. I'm a part of a challenger scale-up in the financial industry, so we've really had to differentiate ourselves by honing in on behavioral science and those behavioral nudges behind the scenes to make us different. So we started in Shirley with this simple idea: make insurance suck less. That's easy, right? So there are a few main pillars to bringing that idea to fruition. One of them being going against the industry grain and offering incredible service, fast policies, making it simple, accessible, enjoyable. Are these words that you're used to hearing within insurance, or maybe even banking, like any really financial service? I think someone said it this morning perfectly. I say it all the time. This is a very unsexy industry. But this is where our company started, with our CEO's really bold idea to reinvent how this space is experienced. So to do this, you need great tech, great people, great culture. None of those things are small feats, but without exceptional marketing, they mean absolutely nothing. Look at all of the overwhelm within our industry. Look at all of the misunderstanding. So we can have the greatest website and the greatest service in the world, but if nobody knows that we exist, we're out of business pretty quick. So my name is Kate Brown, Chief Marketing Officer of Insurely Inc. We're an online insurance brokerage within Canada, and I had a pretty unconventional career path into insurance. I actually took psychology in school, which is super helpful now. But then I started an online yoga business and transferred into insurance. So talk about unconventional, I think I'm the definition of it. I never dreamed of being in insurance, but I landed a role within the starting stages of this company to help with email content, blogs, general strategy. Within 2 months, I was overhauling how our entire sales team functioned. So I was no longer just managing content, but I was building systems, rethinking processes, unlocking new ways to scale. The role expanded, and so did I. That year was a whirlwind of really big moves and big wins, as our forward-thinking mentality was making major shifts in how we could efficiently scale and handle our incoming leads. This little insurance company that wasn't even a blip on the map was becoming this tech-forward challenger brand, surpassing brokerages that had been established for 10 plus, 50 plus years. We went through endless terrible reviews of what people hated about our industry, about our competitors, and we reverse engineered all of that and showed up as the exact opposite of what people were expecting or seeing in our space. So our tonality is bold, it's human, it's cheeky, and above all, it's different from that stale corporate voice that you're probably used to hearing within our space. Very early on, we relied heavily on Google Ads. We built a really strong PPC foundation, and that was the beginning of our overall strategy that we still stand by, and that provides us with the speed and the data that we need to scale. Let's get into it. You can spend every dollar that you have on paid performance or any campaign, any initiative, anything that you're trying to do, but if you don't have the right insights for the right keywords in the right time, in the right place, retargeting the right people, if you're not tying it back to the data, none of it will matter. A bird's eye view model of this looks something like serve this ad on Google. Take this attribution and pass it back to your CRM software to know what your average ROAS is on an overall initiative. Let's unpack that a little bit. We're going to get interactive, so let's have some fun. What keywords do you think are better? So we can interchange this for whatever industry you're in or whatever role you're in. Cheap home insurance or high-risk home insurance. What would you choose to do if you were in my shoes to target? Cheap home insurance, raise your hand. Okay, high-risk home insurance. Hi there, yeah, okay, awesome. So, cheap home insurance, if you chose this, that makes a lot of sense. It is a highly sought after word, there's a ton of intent here, but there's a ton of queries. So every brokerage pays big money to bid on this exact keyword. It's too broad and it's too expensive. Just like the term home insurance. Obviously, this is what I want to target, but it is very expensive, and it's really great if I want to compete with literally every competitor that has like quadruple thousand the budget that I have. So high-risk home insurance is actually a lot better for us because it's low-hanging fruit and it's much more niche. There are way less queries here, so you can see that my CPC is way cheaper, and we can easily target that audience with the right content and the right ads looking for it in real time. And you're probably thinking, like, that volume is so low compared to any like actual, home insurance keyword, or again, interchange this for your industry. But this is a compounding strategy. So you're going to be doing this times thousands of keywords and really compounding that audience. You can take this further too and go high-risk home insurance versus high-risk home insurance. My examples are Canadian because I'm from Canada, Ontario, but you could do Minnesota, New York, and then you're starting to layer in all of these locations to broaden an already opportunistic keyword, now by locations that your data is already confirming converts well. So now you have the better keywords serving the right ad to the right person in the right time. How many touch points were required for them to purchase? Was it instant? Do they need a more personalized nurture for their specific objection? Do they respond to texts or to emails better? Was there verbiage on the landing page that helped or hindered their decision? Was the button placed in the right spot, in the right time, in the right size, with the right color, and the right CTA? So much layering, so much behavioral science. Okay, I've got another one. I know you're excited to raise your hands. You tell me where the call to action should go on this page. This is an example of our current, or maybe not current, you'll have to Google us, homepage. Is it in the top right corner, get a quote? Is it in the bottom left, get covered now? Or in the middle, get a quick quote? If you think it's the top right, raise your hand. Bottom left? All three. Okay. So that's awesome, great guesses. Here's a screenshot of the heat map that tells us why this is the right button placement for this specific lander to drive conversion. So CTAs, as I'm sure you guys are all aware of, are placed in visual hierarchy. This is psychology of the user's eyes, top right and center left. This reduces decision friction. So people are scanning in that Z or that F pattern, and it's going along with their natural behavior. So you can see where the most engagement is coming, which the arrow should be more so towards that center, get a quick quote. But all of these buttons are actually nudging towards specific audiences, so they're all playing off of each other. What this confirms is that visual flow, clarity, simplicity, these matter so much. So when you meet users where they're already looking and reduce the friction along the way, you increase your odds of conversion dramatically. I included another quick shot of an A/B test that we did with our Google team for different homepage layouts based on our audience segments and locations. You'll see here that the visual hierarchy is actually a little different. So the middle button performs better than the top right, but both pages were really successful in conversion rates because they were served to the right audiences. So our last speakers, Mark was really talking about that personalization, making sure that you're really getting into your audience segmentation. This is so important to be doing A/B testing. So after your website has done a good enough job of moving your customer along through this journey, let's keep layering. Was there enough mixture of automated follow-up along with human interaction from our sales agent for our personalized flow? Was the timing far apart not to overwhelm, but close enough together to overserve? Let's play another game. So we all know that you need a good hook and an email to engage, but which one of these subject lines do you think has the best open rate? Keep in mind, we're a challenger brand, so these are a little out there. These are older now. But was it version A? Compare and save up to 32%. Why wait? We're here. Or version B? Quote, check, questions, bring it, insurance, easy. Pick us, you won't be sorry. Who thinks it's version A? All right, who thinks it's version B? Awesome. So it's actually version A. I know, I'm just tripping you up everywhere. Hey, data doesn't lie. So even though these are fairly similar and they're both really good, version A performed better based on the A/B test that we ran. So even though these are older examples, we know why this works still because it leverages behavioral science triggers like action-oriented language based on price objection, which is obviously one of our number one objections, mixed with urgency and emotional safety. Now, the other line may perform better, however, if we served it at a different time, to a renter versus a homeowner, to a different age group, or a lead coming back after a year versus a new one. The intent is different, the audience is different, how we're targeting them is going to be different. So that's exactly why we look at the why behind the purchase, or the why behind the lead who didn't purchase. So because the conversation matters, the data matters, and we take our best performing emails, and then we come up with this winner until this one starts to underperform, and we replace it with another. There's so many steps on the back end of our jobs, which makes it incredibly hard, just validating everybody here in marketing, okay? So making it a seemingly quick and simple process for the customer at the end. So now you've got that perfect customer from all of this hard work that you've done, who makes it to checkout seamlessly because of that. Mine happens to be between 3 and 17 minutes, which we're super, super proud of because of all of the things that we've done behind the scenes. And it's becoming seamless for you because you've relentlessly analyzed all of the above here to segment the proper ads, keywords, visuals, audiences, verbiage, timing, button sizes, landing page flows, sales team follow-ups. I could never fit it all into one sentence, as you can tell. For your overall customer experience from the moment they search you to the very end of their purchase. Pause. Then you're going to take this and you're going to rinse and repeat. Forever. It is not a once-a-year overhaul. It is a constant process of dissecting what's working and what's not. So how do we become bigger, better, smarter every single day? For us, and Shirley stands out in a crowd because we've marketed it that way. We know what works because we've spent enough time and we've done enough testing to know. And what works for us is bold and direct language mixed with a totally frictionless purchasing process. We're like the Amazon of insurance. Everybody wants convenience regardless of which industry or which thing they're trying to purchase. We know the exact drop-off point of the majority of our leads we don't convert. We know the point that if they hit it, our closing percentage is almost guaranteed. We know exactly what we need to do to optimize our quoting portal to increase conversion. There is no part of our ecosystem that we aren't aware of why it works or why it needs to be improved. We know that we can close policies that are 10 to 30% higher than our competitors solely because our service overcomes all of the already known and obvious objections leads have not only with our competitors, but with our industry because of the feedback loops, the touch points, and all of the user feedback. So as soon as you lose the idea that everything has to be done on purpose and with intent and clarity, it makes life a lot more difficult and a lot more expensive because you're doing so much work with way too big of a net. We now only make decisions based on reverse engineering every single idea. But let's flash back. So before this foundational mindset that we still have today, I'm sure we did what every large or small company has done at one point in time. We did not focus on the data. We did not focus on specific case studies. One, because we didn't fully know better, but two, because there is absolutely no playbook for our industry. So much of what we do has never been tried before, either in the insurance space or in the financial sector in general. And I was naive enough to a certain extent to think that if our brand was great, our system was great, our people were great, that if we associated ourselves with large brands with millions of followers or millions of email users, that we would gain leads simply by being seen. We jumped 2 feet into the affiliate world and worked with one of Canada's largest affiliate publishers. I was so excited about this initiative because it meant that I got to build relationships with really big brands that I really admired and I really respected. However, we learned over the course of about a year that it didn't matter if we partnered with a cashback site with 7 million Canadian eyeballs, or 250,000 prospects on an email list, which back then, I thought a failure of 1% of those was a huge success for us. If there was no intent and there was no overall marketing from the actual publisher in that financial space, which I find nobody really invests in, sucks for us, hopefully we'll get there, the return was almost nothing. So now I don't say this to shoot down affiliate marketing. I think there's a beautiful time and place for this. It just didn't work for us in that time. We still work with big brands behind the scenes, but in very different ways. This is where the data comes in. We know now that our own playbook of having a brand collaboration or working with somebody like this is about analyzing the data to figure out how to organize that relationship if it's going to be successful. One of my favorite lines that I joke that I got from my CEO that I say in lots of meetings, which I'm sure you guys will resonate with, we have an unlimited marketing budget for anything that works. I feel like everyone probably does. But prove it, prove to us that this will work and we'll have a relationship forever. And we know this because of the data points. So since then, a big example of how we've shifted is in our paid performance team. It makes up roughly 59 to 65-ish% of our business, so it's quite large. We're fully digital. But we made the bold decision to leave our old agency last year because even though you may work with someone that works with Mercedes or Starbucks or Uber, that does not guarantee success because they work with those big companies. Insurance and the insurance in the financial sector and the financial sector, I was like, that doesn't make sense, is a beast of its own. Success in this space matters. So I said in my last keynote in Toronto that insurance was not an emotional buy, and the room was divided, rightfully so. I want to clarify. The insurance product itself is not an emotional buy. Do you guys cry when your auto policy comes out of your bank account or when you purchase your new home policy? Probably not. I don't, and I work in insurance. But the brand experience is absolutely emotional. And I read a book a while ago that really emphasized the emotional loyalty piece over being the cheapest option, which I think, again, we're all up against trying to be really competitive in that way. But building this cult-like following or customers that are very heavily invested in you or your brand, how you make them feel. And we do this by injecting our emotional branding to form someone to become our perfect customer. So creating that emotional loyalty, we layer in proof that we're lovable everywhere. We make their lives easier, we provide value, and bottom line, by doing this, our storytelling is now working. So people are starting to see us as this fresh, modern option in a very legacy industry because we've leaned into the data loops of offering people exactly what they need. Not what they think that they need, but what they actually want to see and experience in this space. All right, so let's get into some actual tangible results here. Here are some real-time stats that at the beginning of the year, I was able to report to our CEO because we were really honed in on our data, and it started to compound with all of the things that we had implemented. So open rates went up by 70%. Engagement increased by 425%. Organic traffic doubled. Our paid ads went from roughly 0.7-ish ROAS, which was very stressful, to a 1.4 or 1.7-ish monthly ROAS. And these numbers are quite large because we're a scale-up, so they seem a little bit more aggressive for sure. But they're still impressive nonetheless, as we had to do this by being very different in our space and not having really, really large budgets. And I'm hoping I've got some job retention with this too, so I always like to show that. None of these numbers would have happened in the last year if we hadn't become obsessive about what everything was telling us in the data. This was just another confirmation of how much looking into all of this behind the scenes matters. And let's pause on this a little bit too. So I'll turn to one of my favorite examples for really emphasizing this perspective of being wildly different in what you're putting out in your marketing and analyzing your data points. Red Bull built a global empire, not by outspending Coca-Cola or Pepsi, but by becoming a media company that happens to sell energy drinks. We like to think of ourselves as a marketing company that sells insurance. We aren't outspending the brick and mortar banks to create these numbers. We are winning by being wildly different. We are winning by actually giving verbiage in our content, on our websites, in our nurtures that people really want to hear. We're taking exactly what they're saying and reverse engineering our competitors. The psyche of our industry is really crappy, right? So taking the experiences that they hate and flipping it on its head. And how are you guys being wildly different in your marketing? So if you're taking anything away today, I hope that it's starting to plant the seed of, maybe that more challenger mindset. Let's focus on that one. So looking ahead, we are focusing on layering in more behavioral science across the funnel, refining our automation tools and AI additions to scale conversations, and getting hyper-local about our B2B initiatives and our content. Our North Star is, and always will be, being the Disneyland of insurance and having amazing customer service, building a loved brand in a hated industry. We could easily have a voicemail percentage of 50%, but that's just not what we do. A brand that leaves paragraphs of 5-star Google reviews just because we made their day. Those are customers that are engaged. Those are customers that feel seen, taken care of, and our retention proves this every single month. Having a bold and challenger brand mentality mixed with a little creativity is a lot of our secret sauce. And we know that this works because every month is larger than the last, and our slow months cease to exist now because our high months have become our new normal. However, I will always have a lead problem, and I got to joke in Toronto because my CEO was in the crowd, pointed at him out saying, "We will always have a lead problem, and I always will," and he didn't love that, but we singled him out. He's not here today. Bottom line, money is not the issue that you may be facing. It's most likely the tracking and why you know with more certainty than doubt to move towards that landing page tweak, the new verbiage, the new creatives, the new campaign, or the big brand collaboration. Tracking will tell you everything that you need to know and get rid of what you think that you may know about your company, your customers, or this industry as a whole. Every dollar has to perform, engage, convert, and build. So what does this mean to you? How do you do this? You do this by squeezing every bit of juice that you have out of every touch point. Invest in tools that give you compounding returns like AI integrations, feedback loops, conversion funnels, retargeting tech that make every click of yours more valuable. We are the humans behind the brand, and we have the ability to change the consumer psychology of the industry while making our companies incredibly successful. We are the humans behind the brand. Go and be bold. So that's actually it. Tomorrow we have a roundtable discussion where we'll go into more of building a loved brand in a hated industry, getting behind some of the psychology of your brand and building that challenger mentality. But yeah, we've got about 4 minutes before we're going to break for lunch. So if you have a couple questions, feel free to ask. Yes? Is there? Oh, perfect. There's mics.
Hi, can you talk more about best practices for higher clicks on, for example, like a web page or email using the psychology of visual hierarchy? You mentioned action-oriented language, urgency. Can you give a few more examples?
Yeah, so I think it depends on which audience you're trying to target, because there's a few different veins that you can go down for that. Like if we're going after the examples that I gave for the keywords that you're segmenting, it's like, those are if someone's searching high-risk home insurance Ontario, those are people that are wanting to purchase right away, and they probably need to be educated on maybe on why they're not able to get the insurance that they're looking for, or just have somebody be able to call them and talk them through that quote. Maybe not a great example, but yeah, every page that you're building essentially just has to be targeted directly for that person. So what we like to build would be extensions of, like, say you have a competitor mindset. We launched a competitor campaign that was taking reviews of people that really did not like the service that they were getting in the industry, and we blocked out names and company names, and we showcased what it was like to go into that space and get that kind of service. So for people that are uneducated in our industry or just have had poor service in the past, they were able to see the breakdown of what it was normally like and how we were trying to do that differently. So it's such a broad question, I think, but it really just is about audience segmentation. Anybody else? Okay, great. Well, we're going to break for lunch. This room is going to be closed until 2 p.m., and then you guys can come back, and we're going to be diving into more AI and data GTM strategies.